Hello, good morning, everyone. So, in this afternoon, our group will be doing a international webinar on the topic how does a child
or caregivers to lower suspicion and gain access to the child by providing seemingly warm yet calculated attention or support. The perpetrator gains the child trust by gathering information about the child, getting to know their needs, and finding ways to fill those needs. For example, the groomers might say, I saw you reading the new Superman comic. I'm planning to go see the new movie. I can take you if you want to go. As for the third stage, the groomers will filling a need. Once the perpetrator begins to feel the child's need, they may assume noticeably more importance in the child's life. Perpetrators utilize tactics such as gift giving, flattery, gifting money, and meeting other basic needs. Tactics may also include increased attention and affection towards the targeted child. For example, the groomers might say, I know you love jewelry, so I got you this watch. And the fourth, the groomers start to isolating the child. The groomers use isolation tactics to reinforce their relationship with the child by creating situations in which they are alone together, like babysitting, one-on-one coaching, or special trips. The perpetrator may reinforce the relationship with the child by cultivating a sense that they love and understand the child in a way that others, even their parents, does not. For example, you can trust me because no one understands you the way I do. And the fifth stage is by sexualizing the relationship. Once emotional dependence and trust have been built, the perpetrator progressively sexualizes the relationship. This occurs through talking, pictures, and creating situations in which both are naked, like swimming. The adults exploit the child's natural curiosity and trust using stimulation to advance the sexual nature of the relationship. Like the groomers might ask the child, like, have you ever masturbated? I can show you how. It feels really good. And the sixth is the groomers start to maintaining control over the child. Once sexual abuse is occurring, perpetrators commonly use secrecy, blame, and threats to maintain the child's participation and continued silence. In order to maintain control, perpetrators use emotional manipulation, like they make the child believe they are the only person who can meet their emotional and material needs. The child may feel that the loss of the relationship or the consequences of exposing it will be more damaging and humiliating than continuing the unhealthy relationship. Like the groomers might tell the child, if you tell anyone, we both could go to jail. We won't be able to be together. Or if you tell anyone, something bad could happen to your family. For now, let's proceed to the impacts of child grooming to the society. Based on research done by NSPCC, the child grooming will affect the society by it will lead to increase in the number of child prostitution rate. Child prostitution is prostitution involving a child, and it is a form of commercial sexual exploitation of children. The term normally refers to prostitution of a minor or person under the legal age of consent. The rates of child prostitution will increase due to children are often forced by social structures and individual agents into situations in which adults take advantage of their vulnerability and sexually exploit and abuse them by selling them or selling their bodies. Most of the prostitution related victims of youth are weak or exploited children. Numerous predators prey on runaways, victims of sexual assault, and kids who have been severely neglected by their natural parents. In addition to experiencing violent trauma that has a negative impact on their physical well-being, they have also become entangled in the violent prostitution industry. Second is the child grooming will affect the society by increase in the number of teenage pregnancies in society. Adverse consequences of teenage pregnancy and risky sexual activity may also be associated with experiences of child grooming. Further to this, a study by Ferguson and colleagues in 1997 found that young women 18 years of age exposed to child sexual abuse had significantly higher rates of teenage pregnancy, increased rates of sexually transmitted diseases, and higher rates of multiple sexual partnerships, and appear to be more vulnerable to further sexual assault and rape. In addition, child grooming also regularly used to attract minors to engage in illicit businesses such as child labor. Therefore, it will increase the number of children or young people to involve in child labor. In case that there is anyone who does not know what does it means, child labor refers to the exploitation of children through any form of work that deprives children of their childhood, interferes with the ability to attend regular school, and is mentally, physically, socially, and morally harmful. By grooming, the groomers will exploit children or young people to participate in working sectors by persuading them that working in illicit business, making them more profitable. Last but not least, child grooming will affect the society by the possibility of suicide among child or young people to increase. This means that the death rate among children or young people in society also affected. Children who have experienced sexual abuse are at thoughts of suicide are often linked with depression, anxiety, and loss of esteem. When child or adult survivors of sexual abuse feel worthless and have low self-esteem, they may become withdrawn, and continued feelings of worthlessness can lead to suicide. Children who suffer sexual abuse are at least 3 times more likely to commit suicide later in life than children who have not suffered abuse, any kind of abuse. Children who have suffered continual or multiple cases of abuse are at least 5 times more likely to commit suicide later in life. Child victims of sexual abuse may also commit suicide as the abuse is still occurring. Victims feel powerless because of repeated violations of their bodies through manipulation and coercion. That's all for me, and I will pass to our respectful MC, Mr. Sylvester.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Terry. I have a question for how do you the topic that you have mentioned, which is to identify stages, impacts, and um, of society of child grooming in the society, which is how can someone differentiate whether they are being sincerely complimented or being groomed when they receive a certain type of compliments from someone who is old.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sylvester, for the question. Someone can differentiate whether they are being complimented or being groomed by someone older is by being investigated properly on how the adults treats them. For example, if the intention of those adults just give any regular compliments and does not give any kind of rewards, then that is the example of compliments. Whereas if the adults have intentions to give something or with the hopes that the child will fulfill the adult's desire, then that is example of what we call child grooming. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Terry, for the insightful of the impacts of child grooming to society. And moving on forward, uh, we will invite Cheryl Lisa to explain on the prevention that we can take to prevent child grooming from occurring in the future. Cheryl?
Thank you, Mr. Sylvester, our MC. I will continue our webinar with how to prevent of child grooming. Parenting support. The first point is teach your children to be assertive. In teaching your children to be appropriately assertive, help them to say no or disagree respectfully. Parents need to tell their children that no is completely sentence and they do not have to justify or explain about it. If they feel uncomfortable, they feel unsafe, or they are unsure, they are always say no, walk away, and come to their parents' help. Talk to your children about how to keep themselves safe in this situation. Review who they can call if they need a ride, need an excuse to get out a situation, or need a break. Let your children know you will have their back to say to another adult. They need to know that they will support them and not punish them or blame them if they is set a boundary. It's necessary for approach this situation calmly. Really listen to your child and understand the situation from their perspective. Finally, support them even however they need to be supported. The second point is show up physically. The second point is parents need to practice their children about consent. Consent is an act of explicitly giving someone else permission to do certain activity or for something to happen. Every person has the right to deny the consent anytime or to change their mind after they have given consent. Asking for a risk and receiving information consent is especially important when it's come to physical touch, especially in dating or romantic relationship. Conversation about their boundaries. You can model consent by asking before you thought physically and emotionally for your child. One of the best ways to protect your child is to show up for them, for both physically and emotionally. Showing up physically means being parents in their life. It's like attending school, conference, recitals, practical, and games as often as you can. You may not be able to physically attend everything your child is involved in, and it's okay. You don't have to show up to everything, but showing when you can let your child know that you are care and you are there to support them. Showing up emotionally for your child involves providing a similar sense of presence in their life. Tune in and pay attention on how your child is feeling. Accept their feeling no matter what they are. Even their feeling make you uncomfortable, continue to listen and show your respect your children's feeling. And my second is so important to you, to adults and young people, to know adult and young people who is interact with family or friends, teacher or other school employees. You need to know them. Never leave your child alone with unfamiliar older teen or adult. Even if the person is somehow linked to someone you trust, such as someone who is your friend or your brother friends. Make sure your child know how to respect, how to contact you by phone not available. Then go to the school office, a neighborhood house, or other agreed open space. And my last point is know where your child is. Think critically about where your child and how and who they are with, such as camp, after school activity, childcare, field trip, and community activity. Be involved and ask questions such as how often their field trip concern undergone checks. Pay close attention to how adults interact with child in this setting. Okay, besides parent support, government and society intervention is important to avoid child grooming. One first point is public information campaign against child abuse. The government is running a public information campaign aimed at preventing child abuse. It's a group neighbors, relatives, and others who are close to their children. Also tell people how they can identify the sign of domestic violence and what action can take. Second point is mandatory reporting court in case of suspected abuse. Professionals such as teacher and doctor who are suspect abuse are required by law to follow and reporting court for domestic violence and child abuse. This is step-by-step plan that explain what action need to take. One time minimum required that must be met by reporting caught in the check checks. Professional treating an adult with certain condition like addiction must assess the safety of any child living the adult. They must also do this with the child of adults living in situation involving domestic violence. My last point for government and society intervention on child grooming is public information campaign against child abuse. Activity the government has taken specific measure to prevent sexual abuse in youth case. This measure the bias on the recommendations of Sampson commissions. This commission carry out an investigation into the abuse of minor in youth care from 1945 until the present day. That's all for me. Thank you. I will pass the MC, Master Southeast Chai.
Thank you, Sharon. I have a question for you also. One of the points that you have mentioned is families can show affection and emotionally and physically towards their child. But what if the family is not verbal or very open to this kind of affection towards their kids, what are the other ways in the same context that they can show their love towards their children?
Okay, thank you so much, Try for your question. Based on my opinion, one of the best way is parents can have their different way to show love, like more to involve their children interaction with other or the children activity, even though they not show it or say it, but they involved in your activity, in what you're doing in your daily life. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald, for clarifying. Um, as I have read in the YouTube comments, some of you guys cannot hear the first part of it. So we're gonna redo our introduction just to catch it up. So yeah, may I ask Nurul Nazmira to do the introduction again? We're sorry, Nazmira.
Okay, thank you, Sil. Now I want to talk about what is child grooming. Child grooming is the process predators use to abuse children online and offline. Grooming is when someone builds a relationship, trust, and emotional connection with a child or young person so they can manipulate, exploit, and abuse them. Sexual grooming is a preparatory process in which a perpetrator gradually gains a person or organization's trust with the intent to be sexually abused. Online grooming often involves adults creating fake profiles and posing as children or teens in order to befriend and gain their trust. This may be the first step towards sexual abuse or online stalking or harassment. The victim is usually a child, teen, or vulnerable adult. Child grooming can happen in any situation and done by anyone, including the family or relatives.
All right, thank you, Nurul Nazmira. Based on what you have mentioned just now, is there any, based on your opinion, is there any risk of child being groomed if they are on the internet? And what are the ways that an individual can do to prevent this from happening?
Yes, they have the risk of being groomed. However, parents can monitor their child activity on the internet.
All right, thank you, Rosvira. And to conclude this webinar, I would, as a conclusion, child grooming is a phenomenal thing that can happen to everyone by everyone. So we should take note and acknowledge and also supervise children, especially uh, at the age of 7 to 12, so that they are not being groomed by someone who is older. And also there are a lot of precautions that we can take in order to stop child grooming from happening and occurring in the future. Parents should also play their role as a guiding model and tell them and guide them to know what is right and what is wrong to prevent this from happening again. And that's all for our webinar tonight. Today, sorry. Thank you guys for coming and see you guys again. These are references that we have used. And thank you. Any questions? Hello. Okay. So there's a question by Shinju Yume. What should the parents do to help their child once they know their child is a victim of child grooming, especially in terms of their child mental health? Based on my opinion, this is just my personal opinion. I think the parents should give them moral support, and if they go to that extent where they need help from the specialists, which is the psychiatrists or doctors who are certified to help them, they can actually go and seek treatment from them because they are trained to um, give this kind of advice and steps they can take in order to improve their mental health. Does this answer your question? If